Table.
Hi there, thanks so much for joining us here on this Sunday afternoon edition of the Roundtable. Hope you're having a nice weekend dealing with old man winter as we are almost to February, but not quite just yet. Part of our conversation in the second segment today, we're going to talk about something that Perrysburg Schools has adopted, and that is the ability for teachers to be paid based on how their performance in classroom is and how their students do. We'll talk about that in our second segment, but first want to introduce to you Kate Fineski. She is joining us here on the Roundtable this afternoon to talk about, and Kate, we're talking about the internet and safety for kids and parents. And before we came out here today, I said, it strikes me funny that back in the late 90s, when I was working at another TV station up in northern Michigan, a buddy of mine who was working there at the time, Ray Cortopassi, he put together, and I doubt he's watching today because he works in Indianapolis, but he put together this story called, "Oh, What a Tangled Web." We Weave was the continuation of that, but that was late 90s. Here it is 2014, and we bring you in today because later this week at Sylvania Branch Library, you are putting on a presentation once again, not titled "Oh, What a Tangled Web," but we're kind of still there dealing with internet issues, aren't we?
We are, because it's starting to trickle down, and it's no longer just the adults or the college students or even the high school students that are using it. Kids as early as 8 years old and below are involved with social media, and you'd be amazed how much it affects your kids.
Just because of the outlets they have before them. Obviously, we were talking on the phone. My kids have their handhelds that their grandparents have provided them, not me. But, it's good and it's bad. There's like a 50-50 going back and forth. You want your kids to be influenced by, I guess, where we are in this day, in this era. But when you look at all, and I wanted to point out for people at home on our iPad here, I want to scroll through what you say are the 5 biggies and the 5 biggies that you're going to be focusing on. Obviously, we have Facebook, but we're also talking Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and also Pinterest, which some people may not be familiar with every single one of those, but why have you kind of coined these the 5 biggies?
Well, the first reason is because honestly, there's a lot of other social media outlets out there. However, if I were to go through all of them, it would take me days. So we had to kind of coin it down, and those were the ones, at least in this area, that I feel are most starting to be used by kids, or they see their parents using them a lot too. So they've got an awareness of those particular social media outlets.
We've done stories over the last couple of weeks of how there's been waning interest. You, me, we are still interested in Facebook, but the young people there, they've already moved on.
Exactly.
It's like the brand new iPhone. You get one, it's already outdated. But Twitter, increasingly popular. And then talk about Instagram. Why are there concerns of things like Instagram, which is mainly pictures, is it not?
It is pictures. It's sharing pictures. It's kind of sharing on the fly. There's concerns, but there's also positive things that go along with it. So, my idea for my presentation on Thursday is really to share with parents both the positives and the negatives, the pros and the cons to using all these applications. And there are pros and cons to Instagram.
And you've also got YouTube, which is obvious. You have to go in there as a parent. I'm sure you're telling people as far as getting your settings put exactly where they need to be so that your kids aren't seeing every single thing that's on there.
And here's the thing. A lot of the kids are learning a lot of these things in school, too, because they're using YouTube. They're using things like Google Docs to share and communicate with each other. And really, social media is that idea of communicating one-on-one or with a group on the fly, right there and then.
Yeah,
so.
they want it fast, they want it quick, they want it now. Let's talk a little bit about the message that goes out there. You did one of these in the fall. And this time, again, we'll give everybody the who, what, when, where coming up on Thursday in just a minute. But when you get this message out, and adults, we're all like, we've heard it before. Some don't want to be bothered with new technology. But do you drive the message, I guess, more for the young people, or do you try to get it to people who are parents?
My message is specifically to the parents. It's directed to them. It's teaching them, giving them the tools to inform themselves and make themselves feel more aware so that they can make the decisions that are right for their family. So I'm targeting the parents with my pros and my cons so that they can really decide what's best for them.
What is the message, overall bleeding message, that comes out of this?
Yeah, the overall message is you have to inform yourself. You have to make sure that you're aware of how to use these tools. And you also have to inform your kids about privacy concerns, and different things that are really, that might affect them and what's going to be out there and the consequences of what they put out there. So that's the bottom line is, social media is here to stay, and as parents, we really need to make sure that we're getting the knowledge. And there's one more thing I want to say about it is sometimes parents think, well, I just have an infant or I just have a toddler. I mean, really, this doesn't apply to me just yet. I personally think the younger child you have, the more time you have, now is the time to start preparing and getting involved with it, because it takes a while to kind of learn these different tools if you're not familiar with them.
Right, and you are confident that those tools that you learn now will still be hanging around, because as we said, it's always changing, it's always adapting.
I'm not confident in the tools themselves. I am confident, though, that social media is here to stay.
Yeah.
So that's why half the discussion is really on social media and how you make decisions based on what you think your child should and should not use.
What do you say to the parents who maybe ask you, maybe they asked you in the fall, maybe you will get these questions on Thursday at the Sylvania Branch Library at 7 o'clock, but what do you say to the parents who say, I don't want to be that hovering parent. I want to allow my kids freedom. I don't want to bear down on them with every little nitpicking thing.
I say go for it. If that's your rules, if that's how you work, if that's what works best for your family, you know your child best. You know your family best. Everybody's going to be different, and there's going to be different types of opportunities and individual feelings on all of that. So do it. I mean, let them go there, but make sure that you're educated and that you understand the consequences, and also that your child understands the consequences.
I came into contact, and I'll just give you some personal examples. I came into contact with FaceTime, which allows my kids to be able to talk one-on-one, similar to Skype.
Yep, love it.
Talk one-on-one with my folks who live in San Antonio, their grandparents. But I, as a dad, once they got these handheld devices, I went in there and put the settings on probably the strictest that they could be, which disabled FaceTime. So that's kind of some of the stuff I'm sure you're seeing. You have to teach parents on how these things work.
Yeah, you do. And and I don't, it's so hard on different devices to know exactly where to go in and make those changes, but what I am going to give parents in my talk are resources, places to go where they can find this stuff out. So I'm excited about that, because I think that a lot of parents just need to know where to go. Even if this information that I provide, and even if Facebook isn't around and it's not something to be concerned about in 5 years from now, I'm hopefully going to give them tools and resources that they can go to still 5 years from now to check out what is the new hot thing.
Is there a cutoff? I mean, you work and talk to us a little bit about Mother Center of Greater Toledo well. But as you go and talk to these parents, do you set guidelines for them as far as here's an age where maybe you can show a red, a green, and a yellow area as far as ages are concerned, and if they're 6, red. They probably shouldn't be looking at this stuff.
There are definite recommendations. During my talk, I'm going to talk about the laws, what the law says, what the ages are according to the law, and then also use a resource called commonsensemedia.org to talk about, they do a lot of research for us parents and to show them what they might recommend. So I've got a lot of great, the key is to let the parents make the decision for themselves. I'm not making the decision for them, but giving them the tools to make their own decisions.
As you go from the realm of home to, you and I know that you have kind of some inside information as far as education is concerned. Your husband working for Sylvania Schools, and as you look at how schools are implementing their rules, their regulations, I mean, is there an easy marriage there between, is there a fine line as to what these schools, how they are handling, getting the word out, one, that maybe these are helpful in some instances, but in others, we're going to have to really hammer down on you guys.
My opinion would be that the schools really need to embrace the technology and the social media that's going on, because the kids are doing it. And I believe Sylvania Schools really is doing that. I know through my husband that their new digital learning initiative has been a big thing, and they've are in the process of getting kids really familiarized with Google Docs and using Chromebooks. And Sylvania Schools in particular, I'm the president of the Sylvania Schools Parent Organization, and we are going to actually be hosting a parent training forum so that parents themselves can understand what these Google Doc things are, how they can monitor and access them. So I know schools are working to incorporate these things. They know that they need to, but they're also working on training of the parents and getting the parents to understand what these are so that they can monitor it monitor it themselves.
And so many, and I want to go back real quick, and as you see, Pinterest is the one example I wanted to give you. And here we use marriage again, but there's a marriage between all of these sites as well.
Yeah.
So while you say, they use Chromebooks, they use Google Docs, that kind of thing, they're learning when they go onto one site about other sites that exist because they're all working in conjunction. It's like this train of technology that's all connected.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, that's why it's just really important to stay up on all the different tools that are out there.
Talk a little bit about Mother Center of Greater Toledo and kind of the, I guess, the modus operandi for that organization.
The Mother Center of Greater Toledo is an organization that I've been involved with for nearly 10 years now. It's a support organization. It supports mothers personally through friendships, discussions, through a non-judgmental area for them to gather and get together. It is a great group. They meet and they're targeting any mother or parent. We have meetings on Thursday mornings during the day, and we also have evening meetings such as this one. I also lead a facilitated discussion in the evening for working parents. It's called Executive Mamas, and so we gather in kind of just a place to meet other moms that are in similar positions at you. So our local organization does that, and it's great because through my local organization was really how I found the national organization, which is now my job. I work from my home. The national organization is based out of New York, and I help to support mothers through parenting problems, but and parenting support, but also professionally in the workforce and through policy decisions. And so I do that on a national level now.
Let's talk a little bit about the who, what, where, when, how of Thursday night, Sylvania Branch Library, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you guys have called this what?
Social media and kids.
Social Media and Kids, and it is happening at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You see it right there on your screen at the Sylvania Branch Library. Kate, thank you so much for taking some time to talk us through this, and I'm sure we'll see more of this discussion in the future.
Okay, thanks for having me.
You bet. Stay right there. When we continue on the other side of this commercial break, we'll talk a little bit about that performance-based pay that's happening in the Perrysburg schools. Some almost 90 teachers deciding to go this route. We break it down, talk a little bit more about it right after this.